Good morning also from my side, or good afternoon. It's my pleasure to present to you today the topic of fire safety solutions, fire safety applications in healthcare locations. And this is our second vertical focus webinar after the industrial vertical webinar we had a while ago. And yeah, let's get started. So first of all, we know the fire is the leading, let's say, cause for loss of life and also for property damage. But this is, of course, more crucial for healthcare facilities. You know, there's let's say additional risk like higher fire loads in some of the areas, or reduced mobility for the patients, or even the large number of patients that is concentrated in a, let's say, smaller area. So because of that, we have to take extra, let's say, measures and to address particular needs for this type of applications. So you see there's fires all around the globe that in such facilities, and usually these are having, let's say, very rush or very serious, let's say, consequences. So because of that, of course, every safety manager for such a location has to consider some key aspects. And these are, of course, first of all, the um, safety of the patients, of the staff, of the equipment and the building. Then very important is to avoid disruption in patient care, right? Because yeah, there's a process that you are not, let's say, it cannot be interrupted very easy, for example, because of false alarms, and this has to be taken into consideration. Of course, they need to minimize the risk to their location, but also to comply to policies like, for example, maintenance activities. So bearing this all key aspects in mind, let's take a look on what would healthcare location look like. And for that, we will just address, let's say, the high complexity, like a hospital type of location. I know healthcare also addresses other type of facilities, but let's look now at the bigger picture. Of course, this picture can be scaled down to different other type of locations like elderly care facilities or something similar. So if we look at a typical, for example, hospital location, we see there's standard areas like offices, administrative areas, reception, waiting rooms, where there is quite, let's say, increased fire load, but it's not very different to a typical fire application in other type of verticals. Then we have areas with increased fire load, even higher fire load, like the patient rooms, or, for example, kitchens or restrooms, bathrooms, parking lots, and such areas. Then we have a different type of areas. They are very sensitive. Here, you have to take special measures not to have contamination or, let's say, dust accumulation or such, let's say, possible dangers. And these type of areas are like, for example, nurseries or operating theaters or intensive care units and so on. But we also have different type of challenges, like, for example, very high electromagnetic disturbing values, where we have machinery like MRIs or CAT scans or X-ray machinery. All these produce like high electromagnetic fields, and this can be a source of disturbance. But we also have laboratories where you have chemical substances or let's say, processes that can produce explosion, for example, and then can be treated like explosion risk areas. So these are, let's say, some typical applications that we can encounter in a healthcare facility, but we also have typical requirements for this type of application. So we need, for example, reliable and flexible integration with an evacuation system. We need, let's say, we can benefit from remote maintenance procedures to avoid disturbances. And also, as a philosophy, we can benefit from a modular type of system with compatibility in both ways. So these are all features that are, let's say, really needed in such types of facilities, and I will get back to any of these points in the course of the presentation. So let's start, first of all, with typical offices, administrative areas here. We have the challenge of having quite an increase file load, um, like, for example, from paper, wood, textile, electrical equipment, any of this stuff that we do not want to create, let's say, a high fire hazard, but still, for that, we need to address it, let's say, with the typical system. And for that, we address it with our standard Avanade range panels and detector. And here, let's say, one of the best feature that we can offer is that backwards and forward compatibility. And of course, we can also offer a very wide range of detectors, including multi-criteria detectors that can be adjusted to the, let's say, particularities of the area if it's needed. So moving from the basics, we go to, let's say, more complex areas, like, for example, areas with higher file load, like we said, for example, patient rooms, kitchens, bathrooms, parking lots. And here, again, our range of Avanade detectors, Avanade 4000 detectors, that come also with, they can come also with a multi-sensor technology. And I really highlight here the dual optical version in our range, which are very fitted for these kind of areas. First of all, to have a very quick response, an accurate response to a real fire scenario, but also to distinguish from disturbances like, for example, steam or other particles that can be, let's say, from other detectors' point of view, treated as smoke. But in our case, with the dual ray technology, then this can be, let's say, distinguished and treated as a disturbance value. And of course, in addition to the dual optical detectors for smoke detection, they can come with a variety of combinations like heat detection and carbon monoxide detection. So, right, we move now to high sensitive areas like, for example, nurseries, operating theaters, intensive care units. And here we have very often the case where this is a very sterile environment, where we have the need, for example, not to have any contamination. And for that, we can address it with our 500 series detectors, which are the ultra flat detectors, which they can be installed at the surface of the ceiling, for example, not having a physical, let's say, optical chamber, but rather a virtual one. And because of that, there's no, let's say, area where they can build up dust accumulation. Also, very easy to maintain by just wiping the surface clean. And these are, let's say, a great fit for such areas. Moving on, we have next the laboratories areas. And here, the challenges can be really diverse. Like I said, we can have substances or processes that can create explosion hazard. And besides our standard, let's say, panel and detectors range, we can, of course, also benefit from the flat surface detectors, but we can also integrate with explosion-proof detections for smoke, for heat, for flame, and of course, call points for these specific areas. All these equipment we can also offer additionally And you can find them in the Bosch portfolio and can be used for this type of, let's say, high risk explosion risk areas. Next on, we're talking a little bit about electromagnetic disturbances areas. And here, a very particular, let's say, challenge in hospitals or clinics. We have this machinery like MRI or CAT scans or X-ray machineries that produce really high, strong electromagnetic fields. And this can be, let's say, a really high disturbance issue for the fire alarm system, especially for point detectors. And for this, we have two measures that can address this. First of all, depending on how, let's say, problematic these fields or how strong these fields, we can measure them with our eSmoke feature in the Avenir detector series. So basically we can see the value of the electromagnetic disturbances in the area of where the point detectors are. And for that, for example, we can take a run test, see if this machinery can cause false alarms or not, and then we can isolate the detectors when this machinery are running, or we just can find a spot where the detector can meet, of course, the placement criteria, but also not be affected, let's say, too much about this machinery. But then if it's, let's say, impossible to place such a point detector in one of these areas, there's also aspiration smoke detectors. So we can run the pipe inside the room to have sampling points, and we extract the air and then analyze it for the, let's say, smoke concentration outside the room in an area where the electromagnetic disturbances are not that high. So there's two types of solutions for this, and we can address both, of course. Next on, we move more from the application area a little bit to the feature area or requirements for the system area. And here, the first point we had, it's the integration with evacuation systems. And I know there are local standards that differ all around Europe and all around the world. That you don't necessarily can have a voice evacuation or a public address system that is doing the evacuation, or just sounders, or maybe a pager system, or whatever the need, we can address it. So first of all, if we are talking about Bosch voice evacuation system, we have the Smart Safety Link integration option, which is just one IP patch connection between the fire and the voice evacuation system. And this is really convenient, and not necessarily only in the design, installation, commissioning phase, because no matter how many zones you need or messages, you still have just one IP patch between the systems. But also in the, let's say, next phases, especially if we expand the system in the future, then no matter how many additional zones or messages we add, we still keep just one patch connection with the system. So that's really convenient. But of course, if it's not the case for a Bosch voice evacuation system, then other integration can be made with different type of alarm servers, or nurse call systems, or paging systems, or whatever the need of the healthcare system is, because we do offer all these, let's say, integration options, but we're going to talk about it in a second. Next on, a little bit about the remote services that we offer, and we offer a complete package here. And the package contains three components. One is the remote maintenance, so which allows to have some kind of predictive maintenance based off the data that is read from the system, and this way we know exactly what needs to be done when the, let's say, maintenance crew goes to the site, so that this way we can minimize the impact that they have in the location. Second, we can offer a remote connect possibility. So basically all the operation and commissioning to be done, or adjustments of the system that can be done from outside the location remotely, but of course with a secure connection, knowing that this cannot be, let's say, intercepted. And finally, with the remote alert component, we can have alerts, of course, or messages coming from the server, even for example, with the mobile app, and see exactly which is the status of our system as a technician, as for example, safety manager of the location. We know the health of the system, we know if we have events, and so on, always on our mobile devices. Right, so finally, we're talking about a really, really crucial feature of our system that fits with the healthcare locations. And this is the fact that it's a really high modular system. Basically, we can grow the system from one loop with few peripherals to a high capacity network of 32, for example, loop panels together working for serving, for example, one complex large location, or even a campus-like site with multiple locations connected. So that's always the possibility, and it doesn't have to be, let's say, considered necessarily from the beginning, but it can be expanded because it offers this flexibility of additional phases to add just what you need in your system. And of course, that's also a topic that has to be considered is the backwards and forward compatibility that we offer. So basically, we can make use of, let's say, all the peripherals that are maybe installed in some parts of the system, or we can make use of the older panels that can be connected with the new generation of controllers and so on. So this is also something that contributes to the let's say lifetime lifespan of the investment in such facilities. Right. So and now I'll just like to summarize a little bit the main points in why a fire alarm from Bosch is fitting for healthcare facilities. And we talked about the reliability and proven quality of our portfolio products. We talked about the fast detection, but also reliable detection for smoke, but not only smoke. We talked about the modularity of the system and the flexibility in expanding and let's say increase the lifespan of the products, and of course the additional services that we can add on top to make our life easier in such facilities. So let's have a look also on the product side a little bit, and we see here a typical, let's say, diagram of the possibilities that we can have in an installation. And they see the main controller here in the middle, the panel with the controller on top, and the panel modules, and we can have peripherals connected either in the loop, in a communication loop, or we can have them connected, like for example, on the conventional line. That is also available via interfaces from the loop modules. We can have various type of detectors, like the standard Avenir 4000 detectors or the flat 500 series detectors. We can also have different type of special detectors, like addressable aspiration systems, of course, cold points. We can have addressable signaling devices like sounders, flashes, including a combination of a device that we call all-in-one with the detector, flash, and sounder in the same, let's say, device. a variety of the interfaces, allowing to connect, for example, third-party detectors or integrations with various systems via contacts, but also via data protocols. We can integrate with management systems or other systems via our Bosch Cloud. We can connect with the remote services if we have this available, and of course, via data with other public address and voice alarm systems if it's needed. So that's, let's say, a typical diagram of our system. And let's have a look quickly on the most important products in our product offering. And we start, of course, with the Avenar 8000 and 2000 panels, range of panels. Avenar 2000 up to 4 loops and 8000 up 32 loops, a completely modular system. We can expand on the fly with what we need in the system. We can start, for example, with Avenar 8000 from 1 loop and expand up to 32 loops. Then we can add networking. We can put more panels and add them in a network and scale the system as, let's say, our location grows, for example. That makes it, of course, a very cost-effective extension. The panel comes with a very fast controller. Basically, we have, let's say, new generation of controllers that we launched for a few years, and they really come with a fast processor and a lot of computing power to adjust high capacity, to accommodate high capacity installations. It can also be configured as a redundant panel to serve more than 512 detectors, for example, as norms require. And for that, basically, we double the controller, but the redundancy is not stopping with the controllers. We can have redundant loops, we can have redundant power supplies, and so on. So on all levels. And the controller also comes with a high quality touchscreen, 7-inch touchscreen color that offers a really easy operation for the system. Not only that, but for example, everything is displayed with these icons and LEDs which are language neutral. So basically, there's no language inscription on the display. Everything that's displayed in a specific language, it's on the LCD part, on the touchscreen part. So all the indicators are LEDs, language neutral. So that's, let's say, the brain of the system. And of course, we also have the peripherals, and let's quickly review the 2 series of detectors that we have. First of all, Avenar 4000, which comes in a variety of single or dual ray, so with 1 or 2 LEDs in the optical chamber. If it's dual ray, it's with different wavelengths, so that gives more robustness in the, let's say, detection. It comes embedded with the ISP, with the intelligent signal processing that makes the detection really fast and accurate. But not only that, also besides the dual ray and the ISP, we mentioned there's also the eSmoke feature that allows the measurement of the electromagnetic disturbances, and this way to minimize the false alarm rates that can occur from this cause. So all these 3 packaged together in one intelligent detector really gives you, let's say, a high-end, really intelligent detector that fits a reliable and safe system. Also, maybe important to know, it can come as automatic or manual address device. So basically, depending on the needs, you can do whatever the topology dictates in a hospital or a healthcare facility where, for example, retrofitting is oftenly needed. So basically, you can use the loop, you can use T branches from loops or stub topologies, whatever it's needed, we can do it in this scenario with either automatic or manual addressing detectors. And of course, let's not forget the 500 series detectors that we mentioned already. On top of the fact that it's really easy to maintain, as I said, also can come as a smoke or multi-sensor detector. It can just be wiped out for dust, so really easy maintenance. But also maybe another factor to mention is that it can be really personalized in 6 different colors. So that also addresses, let's say, higher demands on the design side. So if, for example, are used in a children clinic or a children hospital, and you want to have, let's say, happy design with bright colors, that's also an option. That's also an option with our detectors. Good. So moving on a little bit on the signaling device size, and here we have the Avanar All-in-One 4000, which is a device that combines an addressable sounder according to EN543 with an addressable flash according to EN5423, and with the option that also can be base for Avanar 4000 detector. So you can basically have all 3 in one installation point: the sounder, flash, and detection. So that way, minimizing, let's say, the cabling costs. And not only that, but it has a really, really low consumption. So it doesn't need additional power. It doesn't need external power. It's power from the loop. And you can accommodate up to 125 devices on a single loop. So that's a really low device, that low consumption device. And for these 125 devices, you can still do, let's say, 1 kilometer of cable. So not sacrificing too much the length of the loop due to the voltage drop. So very fitting device for healthcare facilities, especially because we need really to calculate very carefully the sound pressure in all the locations, in this type of locations, in this kind of facilities. So that's very fitting because of this. Next on, and I think the last product we're going to cover now, is the aspiration smoke detectors. And here we have wide variety of addressable but also conventional units with 1 or 2 detectors inside. So that means 1 or 2 pipes, and with different sensitivities for the 3 classes in EN54. And yeah, we also with 2 types of noise levels. I think the silent units can go down to 23 decibels, so really fitting for the hospital vertical. Of course, everything is monitored, like the airflow, and it comes with some features that are, let's say, making the difference towards our competition. So first of all, we do have the airflow monitoring. It's conditional with the pressure monitoring. So that means as, for example, the system gets polluted, also the flow changes, and whenever we measure the airflow, we also measure the pressure, so we can calculate the reference. So because of that, when you calibrate the system, then it maintains, let's say, a longer time without, let's say, the need of intervening for cleaning of the system. And the second, let's say, very important part is that we also offer the detectors with ISP, with intelligent signal processing. So that's also, let's say, a very robust way of detecting smoke in hospital, like is required in the hospitals or other healthcare facilities. We do also offer here for let's say, small areas and up to 5 sampling holes, the option of identifying exactly the location or which sampling hole basically generated the alarm in the system. So that's a really nice feature when you have sensitive areas that you want to know exactly where the alarms comes from. Like, for example, you have a room and you have a sampling point in equipment racks or in equipment cabinets, and you want to know exactly very fast which one gave the alarm. And of course, optimizing cost, because it's easy to put one unit for each cabinet or one unit for each rack, but that means really high costs. And this way, with the same unit and one pipe with 5 sampling points, then you can identify exactly which one triggered the alarm. Good. So as I promised, that was the last product. And next on, I just wanted to give you an overview about our advantages, our systems of advantages according to our customers, because whenever we talked with our customers regarding healthcare industry, we also collected some feedback, what we can improve, but what went well. So I just put a collection here of feedbacks that we get from healthcare customers, either safety managers or let's say system integrators that are working with this type of projects. And just, I will not go through all of them, but I will just highlight some important aspects like proven quality, reliability of the system, so minimum false alarm rate. That's really very important for the healthcare system. A very easy to design system. So for that, I'm pretty sure if you are already a partner of Bosch or worked with Bosch as a designer, you know our safety system designer with the AutoCAD plugin. Really, yeah, a free design software that we offer, really easy to use, and to import data, for example, from AutoCAD. A scalable system, exactly what I mentioned earlier, with a high number of networkable panels and a high number of loops per panel. So that makes a, let's say, very cost-efficient system that can be scaled to the needs. And yeah, I think also worth mentioning here that Bosch doesn't offer only the fire safety component, but also the voice evacuation part, also the security part, and this can be brought together in different other platforms, not only our own platform that is called BIS, but also other third-party platforms, and can be integrated thanks to our open protocols, right? And mentioning about that, maybe it's important to mention that we offer OPC as a standard protocol for integration. You don't need any hardware for that. So every controller comes with a 4-port Ethernet switch, and you just have the protocol available there for integration. And besides that, using converters or other software servers, you can basically translate that to any other protocol. But especially for healthcare, it's important to mention we offer also ESPA 444 interface. That's really something that is used in the hospital environment, and we can also offer this as a ready-to-use option. So just to close this, I also like to invite you to scan this QR code to read this, let's say, nice customer story that it's available on our website. It's about the Centro Médico Campinas in Brazil, a really interesting, let's say, healthcare facility. It's a campus-like complex with different buildings that had different panels from different vendors, and they had always the struggle to put information together, to have a central, let's say, monitoring path. And basically Bosch refurbished and let's say, replace these different type of panels and build one system that it can be operated from central and also monitor from central location in the campus, and offers, of course, the option of integrations with different other safety and security systems. So please scan the QR code and you'll find the complete story with the challenges, with the solutions, and with the, let's say, testimonials from the system integrator and safety managers. So that being said, I will stop here. We have about 20 minutes for question and answers. And for that, please let me open the panel for question of answers. And okay. Okay, there's the displaying issue. Okay. So I see only one question so far, but if you still have questions, please do not hesitate to put them in the Q&A box. And the question would be any applications of Aviotech in healthcare environment, which department? So yeah, we see a lot of possibility for Aviotech. I would like also to highlight here that Aviotech is usually a complementary detection method. It doesn't have the role of, let's say, the only detection method so far, but still it has the advantage of really, really high speed detection. So really quick detection in a matter of seconds. And because of that, it's very used in high sensitive areas, like, for example, laboratories or, for example, freezer areas for storage. That's also some application that in hospitals are having a really, really high load, because when the temperature is low, then the fire spreads really, really quickly. And Aviotech can function down to -40 or -50 degrees, depending on how it's powered. So I'm talking the Aviotech new generation. And because of that, it's a very fitting, let's say, option for these kind of areas. But in general, wherever we need the detection at the source, we don't need to wait the smoke to reach the ceiling or or any height. We just need to detect flame and smoke at the source. Then Aviotech it's the best fit. And usually as a complementary detection method, but not only. I mean, sometimes it's the only possible solution for some applications. So that can be also used. And I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Florin.
Mm-hmm.
So, dear guests, this is your chance to ask Florin specific questions.
Okay. Meanwhile, I'll switch to our feedback slide. So in case you also want to give us some feedback via Mentimeter, I guess, Anna, this is the QR for the
Yes.
Mentimeter session. We will still, yeah.
We would appreciate your feedback on the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
You will need your mobile phone, just scan it and then take a small survey. And in the meantime, if you have questions, please enter. And I can see we have received question.
Yeah, it's about if the possibility to integrate with the other about this device. I hope it's I understand the question. It's about the Aviotech, and Aviotech is a camera that um, can be integrated in various ways. So first of all, it can be integrated in a video management system, and it would transmit the video, but also the metadata and so on. To the fire alarm system, it can be integrated via two relays, one for alarm and one for the fault. That can be connected to an interface, and basically in this way to be connected to any type of fire alarm system. It doesn't have to be Bosch, of course. Any interface that can accommodate the two relay type of conventional detector can accommodate Aviotec as well. And it also has the option to record on the SD card, on an embedded SD card, so you don't really need a video management system to have also the video analysis of the event. But if you do, of course, you get more features out of the camera if you integrate it in a video management system. Next question is if we can have the PDF at the end of presentation. Of course, that will be sent
next week.
Next week,
After
probably,
Easter,
yes.
we will send it out.
Okay, so it will be sent to all participants. Next question I see, what are the recommendations for the use of detectors and what types of detectors inside suspended ceilings in hospital? If we have a false ceiling, then we need 2 layers of detectors, like in every, let's say, vertical, so it's not really specific to healthcare. Inside the false ceiling, we can use the Avenir 4000 detectors, usually just as smoke detectors, not necessarily as a multi-criteria. So just a basic optical detector, and he's actually one of the, let's say, advantages of a wide portfolio that Bosch offers is that you can choose the detector that suits the application. You don't have to put, for example, a multi-criteria detector inside the ceiling because you only need smoke detectors. You can use a simple smoke detector. You don't have to pay for features that you don't use. And below the false ceiling, you have the option of the Avenir 4000 that can be, depending on the area, like I explained a little bit earlier, it can be smoke detector, a dual ray smoke detector, or a combination of smoke with heat or smoke, heat, and carbon monoxide, depending on the area and the, let's say, the risks in the area. But we offer the complete range there, so you can basically choose from whatever is needed. And let's not forget the 500 series detectors that really makes the maintenance easier. So basically, it's flat mounted to the surface of the ceiling. So you just during the maintenance, you just have to wipe it with a cloth, and that's it. Of course, also the other series, the Avenir 4000 series, can be cleaned. It has a plug for compressed air that can be blown and cleaned from dust. So we have a philosophy to, let's say, prolong the lifespan of the equipment as much as possible. We don't need to exchange them, let's say, when they are polluted. So you can also clean them. And for the 500 series, you just can do it very easily, but also the Avenir 4000 can be also cleaned. Next on, we have what about the license for alarm fire software? So thank you for the question. That's, of course, something that has to be considered if we're talking about a visualization software. We offer, we as Bosch offer 2 alternatives. One is fire dedicated visualization software that comes with a separate license, that it's a one-time license. It's not a subscription, and just paid once and that's it. And the value is based on the number of points, and that can be 2,500 or 5,000 or 10,000 points, and it comes automatically with 10 clients. It's a server client software, and you can connect from 10 workstations to that for larger systems, for example. But this is dedicated only for fire it has all the features like graphical flow maps, placement of the elements. You can interact with elements in the interface and so on. But besides that, we offer also the BIS package, which is let's say not only for fire, but can accommodate also voice evacuation system or public address, also security like access control, video intrusion in just one platform. And for that, again, with graphical flow maps, with all the elements placed, with conditions between different type of systems, like I have an alarm, I can pop up a camera and so on. So everything can be integrated there, including Aviotec video cameras. So that's also an option. And besides that, we can also offer integration to third-party softwares because we have free available SDK software development kit. So for anyone who wants to write an integration, there are already a lot of them available for different, for example, for Milestone, for Genetec, you can already integrate, but other softwares, and if it's not written yet, you can also do it with our free SDK. So there are a lot of options for integration with softwares depending on your needs, but to make it short, for the visualization software for the fire alarm system, you need to pay an additional license. That it's a one-time license for the basic fire for the basic fire visualization software, and it can vary for other options. And I hope that answered your question. Then, is it possible to have manual cold point in antibacterial coating? Not as far as I know. So it's the plastic is not. I know what you are meaning, but this is something that is rarely available in the fire world. So yeah, I mean the plastic itself, it's resistant, let's say, to some of the cleaning agents in the hospitals, and I know that there are, for example, for nurse call, some norms that say the plastic itself has to be special, let's say, component that it doesn't, it prevents the development of bacteria, but yeah, we don't have this as far as you know in our range. Are there any tools available freely for the designer of fire alarm systems that are not certified partner for Bosch? Yes, of course. So you don't have to be a registered partner of Bosch. Our safety system designer tool, you can just search the web for Bosch safety system designer. You'll get a free download link. You do have to register yourself. The software, it's a free software to use, but you have to register with your name, company, and email address in order to, after some days, in order to keep using it. But it doesn't bring any costs, and it's not, let's say, conditioning you to be a Bosch partner in order to use it. And so safety system designer has all the components, the calculations that you need. So to start with the beginning, first, it allows you to import data, for example, from AutoCAD, like from a riser diagram, or from Excel, from a bill of materials. You can import data and builds the system for you with, of course, uniform distribution, or you can build it yourself with the specifics that you need. And then it calculates everything on the power side for the panel, for the batteries, for the loop length, for the current, for everything that you need, cable used, and so on. Even you can use, for example, custom size cable if you want. So everything is there, and moreover, it can also generate the tender text for you, bill of materials, everything that's needed, yeah, ready to place the order if you want. So it's widely used not only by Bosch partners, but also second tiers of Bosch distributors. So yeah, just to answer shortly, it's free to use for everyone. And next question is, how can we integrate the Bosch fire alarm system with a fire extinguishing system from other company? Thanks for the question. That's really easy to integrate. So just to be transparent, our controllers are not certified for EN 1294 for extinguishing. And because of that, you will need a dedicated controller. What we can do, because we have extinguishing interfaces that are, let's say, able to be connected on our loop. And this, you will need one of these interfaces for every extinguishing zone. And then you will connect via contacts, two signals, one way and one signal the other way with such a extinguishing system. The beauty is that according to EN and VDS norm, you can have the detection part in the Bosch panel. So basically you can have the detection system everywhere, including the extinguishing zones with the Bosch detectors, and then connect with such an interface to a for example, small conventional controller, extinguishing controller, where you connect only the extinguishing installation and the, let's say, blue, yellow call points and the pre-alarm and the alarm sounder. So only those peripherals you need to connect to that controller. All the detectors themselves can be connected to the Bosch panel. And this way, basically, you extend the reliability of the Bosch detection detectors also to the extinguishing zones, because then we know that's also something very critical in the extinguishing part, that you really, really need good, reliable detection and to minimize false alarms, because false alarms there means release, a discharge. And if we're talking, for example, chemical agent, that's really expensive to refill the tanks. So it can be done. Reach out to us. We can show you how it's the best way to do it. And we definitely do it a lot in with our partner system integrators and our own integrators, for example, in Germany. And next question is, lithium-ion batteries are common in healthcare. Well, that I think it's a statement, not a question, but nevertheless, okay, I didn't see it completely. Particular medical equipment, any early detection advice? So battery detection, it's really, yeah, it's really a tricky one, because if you reach the thermal runaway stage, then it's too late even for extinguishing systems to act. So because of that, you definitely need really fast detection, and for that, Aviotec is very a good fit here. So whenever you need seconds to detect, then you can use Aviotec for example, for the smoke that comes out of the damaged batteries. The other option would be to integrate an electrolyte detection system with a fire alarm system and trigger, for example, signaling devices. What also works is but this is something we do not offer in let's say the product business, but rather in the integrator part, is the oxy reduction systems for the unmanned areas, right, where you basically constantly reduce the oxygen level to the level that the burnout it's not starting, and but you have to be careful because this is a life hazard for the occupants. So just to summarize, there are some options like electrolyte detection, even, for example, thermal cameras that can be connected to detect hotspots on equipment. But usually, if you have a casing on the equipment, that's not something that you can detect through the casing. So it's yeah, I think also Aviotec, it's a very, very good fit for fast detection. And I hope this answers at least partially your question. And just a slight comment, lithium-ion batteries in some countries are not very welcomed in the hospitals. So yeah, especially because of the hazard. But I understand in some they are. Next question, Bosch fire alarm, is BMS ready? Yes, absolutely. No problem about that. Like I said, we offer 4 Ethernet ports in every controller. 2 usually are used for the networking, the other 2 for integration. OPC, it's available directly, and what we call the FSI, Fire Safety Integration Protocol, which is our own protocol, but also based on OPC. That can be, for example, used to develop any type of integration for BMS. So if the BMS supports OPC already, then it's an out-of-the-box integration. If not, then you can use a variety of, let's say, gateways that are available on the market. Yeah, we do not necessarily offer all of them, but I know personally of integration that were done with, for example, BACnet protocol or Modbus or yeah, LON or KNX or other protocols. So there's really no limit because there are a lot of converters and gateways out there that can be used besides the OPC that we offer natively. And of course, like I mentioned, for alarm servers, we also offer it as SPA444, and that's also an option for healthcare. And I hope that also answered your question. And I think that was the last question. And we also good on time, right? So
Yes,
Anna,
I
I will
can.
pass
Yeah,
the word back to you now. And
I,
thank you to all from my side.
thank you very much, Florin. That's all, yes, the time we had for this topic today. We appreciate your participation and the questions you have addressed. Special thanks to you, Florin, presenting the topic.
My
And
pleasure.
next week, we will share the presentation and the recording of the session with you. If you have further questions, need more information, please do not hesitate to contact our Bosch team. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar soon. Have a nice day.
Have a good day, everybody.
Bye.